Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today is a Wednesday question mark. This is a Inter Games live stream event where we come onto the internet live and we share some knowledge, basically trying to help people understand what it is the sort of skills they might need to get a career in the games industry, trying to demystify certain things about the games making process, and trying to give everyone a wonderful opportunity to get to know some of the UK games industry professionals that help make it so wonderful. So today we're doing just that. This event in particular is going to be a sort of a Q&A session. We've done a few of these before where we sort of take someone from the UK games industry that Intergames is working with at the moment, and we sit down and we chat with them. We sort of get to know a little bit about their games career, like sort of background. We get to sort of really understand maybe what would have helped them get into the industry, what skills are they using at the moment to do their work, and it's really an opportunity for you guys in the audience, in the live audience, to ask any questions, especially if they would help you either understand more about how you can get a career in the games industry or how you could be better at a particular skill or discipline. So hello to anyone that's watching live on YouTube. If you want to ask questions, please do use the live chat function. I can see plenty of sort of mostly new names in there, actually. I don't recognize a lot of you. Thank you for joining us. And if you're watching on LinkedIn, I believe that the comment section is a little bit iffy on LinkedIn. So if you want to head to the Intergames YouTube just for a more consistent experience, I recommend it. But otherwise, if you just like to watch and listen, please do. Hello. And hello to anyone watching this in the future. You can't ask us questions unless you have invented time travel in the future, in which case that's cool, isn't it? That's actually really cool and probably better than anything we're going to talk about today. But I will attempt to prove you wrong on that. Today, I'm going to be talking to a gentleman by the name of Oliver William Walker. Now, Oliver William Walker is going to be joining us today in particular because he's going to be sort of leading a sprint course with Intergames. So if you haven't heard of a sprint course, if you don't know what Intergames sprint courses are, they are these 3-week courses that you can do, and they take place after work, sort of in the afternoon, evening in UK time. The idea being is that they're really digestible sort of courses for anyone that's doing full-time work or full-time education. You can come home, do 2 to 3 hours of learning, have something to sort of work on the weekends, and then after 3 weeks, it's done. You'll have an incredible portfolio piece, or you'll have developed a skill that you just simply didn't have in the first place. Like, it will be totally unique and interesting and totally applicable to leveling up your career. And that the individual who we're meeting today, for example, will be someone who works in the UK game sector, who has done this before and really understands what it's like to go through that process of making something, designing something, and just contributing sort of a piece of work that is genuinely to an industry standard. But you don't want to hear it from me, so let's hear it from the man himself. Oliver William Walker is going to join me on stage. There he is.
Hello. What a brilliant introduction. I love that. That was super, super cool. Hello, everyone joining us live. And if you're in the future with the time traveling devices, please can you bring one to me, just like that bit in Time Splitters, which is a fantastic game for level designers. It actually kind of holds up really well. I was playing it not too recently when it got remastered for PlayStation 4. But let's talk level design. Let's go for it.
Exactly. So, Oliver, this is normally the stage. This is normally the stage where I'd be like, Oliver, who the hell are you? But no, I won't do that because actually, Oliver, I know for a fact that you have something prepared. So what we will do is if you want to just drop the present screen on again for me. And then there we go. So I'm going to give you your presentation and slides. Everyone in the audience is saying hello and they're super excited to meet you. I know, wonderful. So I'm going to give you your slides, and I will let you basically just present this for a bit, and then we'll come back and do a bit of a Q&A.
That is perfect.
They're all yours.
Yeah, we won't take loads of time with the presentation. I think it's worth. This is more a dialogue kind of call. I want to know what you're passionate about, what you're interested in learning about. You know, specifically level design is what we're here for today. But if you have questions about your career, where you're at in the world of video games development, please, feel free to use the chat for that as well. But I put this together just so we've got a little bit of something to jump off from, to inspire you, to sort of get you excited. And yeah, let's just jump into it. It's me. That's me. You've probably seen this picture already if you're in this live stream. So until recently, I was at Studio Zaum, but I left to found my own studio, and we released a mobile game pretty recently. But at Studio Zaum, I was responsible for level design, and that was a really awesome project. And overall, I learned loads on that job. Before that was my first real big AAA project at Ubisoft, which was Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. I had the absolute pleasure of leading a benchmark quest, which was the King Lord Vision quest. If you've played the game, this is the quest where you play as a moth. So extremely exciting piece of content. Before this, I worked on Minecraft Dungeons: The Hidden Depths. And I love to say, I wish I could say this, but usually I say, I made all of the secret levels in the Hidden Depths. It's not true. There's one secret level that I didn't make, so I can't say that. But almost all of the secret levels, most notably, there's one inside the volcano, which is obviously fantastic. And then I got my start in the industry working on Sniper Elite VR, where I made, just about half of the missions in the game across, I believe it's across 3 or 4. I think it's across 3 levels. So I did Lighthouse, which is the finale of the game. I did Lake, which is a very classic Sniper Elite level. And then I also did Fuel Depot, where we have, again, exotic gameplay, which is what I took over and led on Avatar and also on Minecraft Dungeons. So I've always done a lot of exotic level design, and we can talk about what exotic level design is today. So let me know if that sounds like something interesting. Okay, so this is important, this slide. This is super important. Who is this for, this course? Who is it for? Is it for level designers? Well, kind of. This course is specifically targeted at people who have been using an engine for a good amount of time. They know their way around Unreal or Unity or Godot, but is someone who is looking to begin specializing in level design. But it's also for people who are already level designers and see that as their role and discipline, but it's for those people that want to level that up, right? There is so much learning that takes place in your first year in the games industry. And the way this course is going to run is it's basically going to be an open level design department. And the idea is you're all joining, the level design team to produce levels. And I'm going to offer the same guidance and industry experience that I give juniors on teams that work with me. So why is there the Valve logo? Okay, so the absolute core of this course is we will be designing levels for an unannounced Valve game. It's not a real thing. It's not, we're not all working for Valve, but this frames us. This frames our conversation. This frames our designs around a specific product. So you could make anything. You could make, a Left 4 Dead 3. You could make a Half-Life level. You could make a Team Fortress level. You could make a brand new IP like Deadlock and design a level for that. So this is the core of what we're doing. So if you are into Valve games and the style of level design, you are going to love the course. We're going to start off with paper designs. This is about crafting your blueprint. This is a screen grab from High Ground, which is one of my favorite maps in Halo 3. I have a Discord community for Oliver Makes Games, which is my business that I spend my time on these days. And we were talking recently about our favorite Halo maps. And I said High Ground is my favorite Halo map. I didn't say a single player map, which I think is relatively controversial. But the point of this slide, and the reason that we've gone with this Halo analogy from this point onwards, is you can see this. You see this 2D map. It's to be frank, it's relatively crude, but That's what 2D maps are. These are simply tools to help you build the best level possible. They didn't ship this map, they shipped an industry-leading map. Following that, we're going to discuss layout. And if we look at these last two slides, I know that it's kind of obscured by the text, but there's already differences. There is already a significant difference between that 2D map and the layout. And we're going to teach you what changes to make in that process and why it's important. Layout, simply at the most basic level, imagine this as the absolute base of your level design. It would be like going to a restaurant without, your core components of the meal. You really can't create something without layout in the level design space. It's essential. It's an absolutely essential skill. Following that, we're going to be looking at ingredients. So we've got the fusion coil in the background here, which has not changed since Halo 2. This is their equivalent of the exploding barrel, but they do something interesting in that it rolls and it explodes. We're going to break down the importance of ingredients, and we're going to choose one specific ingredient for this course for your levels. We're only using one ingredient, and that keeps things simple and focused. If you can use one ingredient to an excellent level, you don't need any more than that, and that is why it's important. There's this really bad cropped image of Gordon Ramsay in the background for some reason, and I'm a huge Gordon Ramsay fan, so I had to include him somewhere. But if we ignore this, we're going to talk about showcasing the work, so really serving the creation. So not only are we going to be developing a small level, there is going to be a focused day around how do you present a level. So I do tons of work on portfolios with graduates and people that are excited about making video games, and you have to be able to present just as much as develop cool content. It's essential because, imagine, let's stick with a restaurant analogy. Imagine if you have the most delicious meal, plated up, cooked by the best chefs in the industry, but if it comes out and it looks like a dog's dinner, nobody's interested. Okay. So I feel like I've gone full lecture mode. Hopefully we've got cool questions in the chat, which I can't actually see because I'm on the slightly different live stream page, but I'm sure Jonas is going to bring those through for me. So yes, thank you for listening. And if you've enjoyed the presentation style of this small snippet, small slice, this will be the tone of the course. I think a good way to phrase it is big energy, big breakdowns, and I'm really excited to be delivering the course, and I can't wait to meet you all and see your creations. So this is the open time to chat about the course. Let's chat.
Beautiful stuff. Let's chat. I think that underpins absolutely everything, 100%. Now, what I will say is, before we start asking questions, we'll finish off the subject of the sprint course. Well, let's slot that all into one massive conversation. So you've heard everything about the sprint course. You've heard what Oliver's got plans for it. You heard about the sort of the general format about it earlier from me. If you're interested, you want to look it up, you're like, oh, actually, I think I might like to do this. How do I learn more? There is a link somewhere in the YouTube description if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're watching this on LinkedIn, I just recommend just go straight to the Intergames LinkedIn page, which will very much be attached to this video. And there will, I promise you, there will just be some post that we've made in like the last 3 days that tells you all the details of Oliver's course. And for watching this event, like before you click checkout, for watching this event, we actually do a little discount code. So I've made it scroll across the bottom of the screen, but maybe you're listening to this akin to a podcast while doing the washing up. So I'll read out sort of contents of it. If you head over to the course website and before checkout, use the code Oliver55 or Oliver55, all one word, capital letters, that gives you 55% off the sprint course, off the total price. It's valid until the 19th of October, so I think as long as you use it before Saturday, if my calendar maths is correct. So if you can use it, if you can use it today, Thursday or Friday, it will be 100% valid. And it's up to 10 uses as well. So it's not infinite, but there's hopefully enough use there that everyone should be able to get use out of it. I think that's everything to do with the course. That's everything to do with the discount. Everyone's got all the information they need under their belt. Please feel free to scroll back to this part of the video if you want to hear some of those details again, or if you just want a little recap and things like that. Let's get to the Q&A. Thank you so much, audience members, for your patience. And some people have been asking some really lovely questions in chat. There's a really short, snappy, simple question that let's get it out the way, because I think it's good, because it kind of presents it. I'm sure you can use it for context. Jay asks, level design and environmental design are the same thing, roughly, right? So, Oliver, are they the same thing? And if not, why not?
What a classic question. It's an absolute classic. And there is, obviously, it's very easy to misunderstand this when you're looking from the outside into the industry. So at the most basic level design focuses on gameplay and environment focuses on visuals. But we can break that down further. So level design focuses on, what is taking place in the level and what is the play experience. Whereas environment art is focusing on things like grounding the space in reality and in specifically visual grounding. So if we take some of my levels that I worked on, for example, let's pick sort of Lake from Sniper Elite VR. So when I designed that level, I placed the location of the target who you have to take out in the mission. I placed the lake itself. I placed the routes around that lake. But did I place the individual fence posts and the individual puddles on the ground and the small encampments and no, I didn't. But what I did place was all the ammo, where players need to pick up ammunition, because it's related to gameplay. This is a very common misconception. So this course is really for people that want to focus on the play experience. If you're looking to be an environment artist and you focus on visuals, this isn't the course for you. I think Into Games do an environment art course, but this is not that course. This is all about play and the gameplay experience.
Yes, thank you very much for clarifying. On that subject of, do we have an environment art course? I think we've actually done one. I think we're doing one right now, actually.
Is it? Yeah, I think it's. I almost did it.
Yeah, Anya Elvidge is doing one.
I love their stuff.
So if you think that you're sort of more leaning towards the artistic kind of visually stuff, there are absolutely resources for you, and don't go anywhere. I think you will learn a lot, because I think you'll agree that you do have to work with environment artists probably really heavily, right?
1000%. It's essential. So
they can't go placing massive trees in front of your ammo packs. That'll ruin the whole game.
Right. So there was a really rough one that happened on Avatar that actually shipped. There's I've spent we did some cutscene, effectively gameplay cutscene work we did. And I wasn't there right until Avatar shipped. I left just around alpha or beta, I forget which. And in the shipped game, as you're walking down to see this cutscene, this gameplay cutscene, there's an ammo box here, and players will look down, maybe a third of the players look down, pick the ammo up, and they miss a bit of the cutscene. But this is the relationship, right, between environment art and level design. These things are inherently intertwined, and it's something that we will touch on in the course. And if you do take the course, you will walk away with an understanding of what the role of the level designer is and what it isn't. So I think that's super useful.
Brilliant. Thanks for expanding on that. And if anyone's sort of thinking that they've got more that they'd like to understand about that, please do put the questions in chat. What I will also say, because I always have to footnote this, if we do not get round to a question today, or a question doesn't get asked today from you in the chat, don't worry. Because there's the Intergames Discord, which has just a massive community. Over 1,000 industry professionals, that's working UK games industry professionals, are in there, who alongside like the other 8,000 members are mostly game dev sort of career seekers or people that have graduated from university. Through that community, any question you have here can be answered in that community, albeit it won't be as like lovingly delivered from the mouth of Oliver himself, but believe me, like the expertise is there. So just check out that community if you're like, you think of a burning question like a minute too late, or we don't get around to talking about it today. But to save time, let's move on to the next question. Curious Foodie, God, I relate to that name too much. Curious Foodie asks, why did you choose level design over general game design as your career focus? And if someone is deciding between the two, what are your thoughts? So I guess really like, yeah, what's that specialization look like?
This is an awesome question. This is a really awesome question, and it's picking up on like the nuance that you go through as a designer in your degree, or when I graduated, it wasn't very common that people specialized in level design at degree level. So I think the most useful and applicable answer, I'll talk a little bit about my own experience as well, but the most useful answer to this is gameplay design is very documentation driven. Level design is very practically and hands-on driven. So if you get the most, enjoyment and engagement about building something and crafting something, and that iterative process, that kind of whiteboard talk where, people are sort of, breaking down a level, people are standing around the PS5s and, testing the level and sort of saying like I got lost here. Like what, how can we change that? Can we do something with the lighting? Can we just move this rock 5 meters down? These are the questions that you ask as a level designer. Whereas on the gameplay side, they're more focused on what are the ingredients, right? So specifically with level design, so the fusion coil we saw earlier, a level designer wouldn't design the fusion coil. They design how it is used. So a gameplay designer would say, okay, we're going to have fusion coils, we're going to have, sniper rifles, we're going to have the ghost, right? And these are all things from Halo, right? They would design those components, and it's level design's job to use them in exciting and interesting ways.
Nice. Thank you for expanding on that one. Curious Foodie, I hope that answers your question. And thank you for the questions, by the way. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Curious Foodie, for your questions. We've got quite a good number of questions in chat. Please do keep them coming, by the way.
We can, if it's helpful, we can do slightly more succinct answers as well and get through as many as possible. Or
that's all right. That's right. We're at 5:25, and I think we've got a decent amount of time. Let's see how we get on. But I think yeah, if it looks like we've got more questions than time, we'll go into a
yeah. I'm ready for it. Yeah.
Right.
I'll go through TikTok mode.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll sort of do the little chess clock thing. Dr. David D. Davidson, what a mouthful, says, would this be a level for Valve using Hammer? Would this be a level? I suppose this is referring, by the way, to what you would create in the sprint course. Level using Hammer? Would it be a level using just any engine? Like maybe using Unreal or Unity, given that those are the more general engines looked at by studios. So basically, is your course, are you using a specific studio or engine, or is it engine agnostic?
1 second, just going to make a quick note. Okay, so this course is completely engine agnostic, and I have become completely engine agnostic over the years. I've used so many editors. It's all like, it's water under the bridge. It doesn't matter what engine I use. I can develop levels for that, and I want to inspire that in the students as well. If you wanted to use Hammer, you could use Hammer for this. That's fine. But I would recommend using what you're most comfortable with, or what you're really keen to learn. The question around the engine and Valve are huge on Source and Hammer, right? Obviously, but I understand where you're coming from in this question. But the idea of the Valve level is more conceptual, rather than software driven. It's I'll talk a little bit about the thinking, and this will be part of the course as well. So Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2 specifically didn't just have levels, they defined level design. Games before the original Half-Life did not focus on grounded real environments or storytelling in the way that they did. And Half-Life 2, with its highly choreographed pacing and scripted sequences, that's what Naughty Dog games, took to the next level. The point of the Valve level is I am asking you as my students to, or if we're going with the game dev analogy, my colleagues, I'm asking you to design in a way that is fresh, that is original, that is exciting, that is on the cutting edge. So it is, again, to reiterate, it is more conceptual than software driven. So yes, hopefully that's useful.
Nice. Thank you very much. Dr. D. Davidson, thank you for the question. Next up, I have Jonah Perry asks the question, I often over-rely on a grid when creating my level blockouts. What tips do you have from breaking away from the grid, using more organic shapes while still keeping good spacing and metrics?
What an awesome question. Breaking the grid is when I work with juniors, this is one of the first things that you're sort of drilling into them and helping them understand. So even in extremely rigid spaces, like for example a shipping container yard or a military base, things that would be on the grid, it's about shaving off walls for sidelines. So instead of a cube, you have this chamfered edge, and all of a sudden your environment is feeling more and more fresh. Breaking the grid it's practice as well. It would be a good analogy I like, and we use this in the course, is it's like sculpture, right? Level design is like sculpture in that there is so much that you take for granted because you've been doing it for so long. And this layout stuff and breaking the grid is something that we focus on in the course. As for how you can break it, I think shaving off edges of walls where you want a specific sightline or where you want to draw the footfall of the player, super helpful. Rocks, and organic features are inherently going to break the grid. And then just, don't think about your levels in these X and Y, longitude and latitude angles, right? You have to think about your level as like, okay, like if this was a real organic space, where would it break the grid and where wouldn't it? And this is something that you'll improve on over the years. I have older levels that I have worked on that are so comedically bad at this. They're so on the grid, it's incredible. But yes, hopefully that answers the question. Maybe a little meandering, but I always get like that. So yep.
That's all right. I'm very much, when you say breaking the grid, I'm picturing something very cyberpunk, very mainstream.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Very much like, we need to break the grid and seeing through the code of the world. I'm sure that's not what it actually is, though. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for the question there, Jonah Perry. I hope that helps. Just reading up on the next couple of questions. So I suppose, yeah, Diamond Wolf. It's a long name. Diamond Wolf 9148_VODs asks, what is the things you should take into consideration when creating a level in a game? But I suppose what I'd kind of reword that a little bit, where it's like, if you could only give someone like these kind of like 3 fundamentals, like some bullet points to be like, okay, this is all I'm going to get, and I have to work with that. What are those bullet points look like? What are some of those like fundamental things that you can kind of just say short and quick, and that will work?
Verticality, like you we make in 3D level design, you have 3 axes, right? If you are too flat, you are inherently ignoring a whole dimension in your layout. Think about that. You would go from moving left and right to up and down as well. That's a huge amount of freedom and expression that comes in. And to go back to the previous question, you have to break the grid. If you aren't breaking the grid, even in something like The Division, right, which is in New York City, which is completely on the grid, the whole job of the level designer was break the grid, because it will feel artificial, and it will feel flat. Like you will feel it as you play. You might not be able to put your finger on why, but you'll kind of be like, something's wrong here. You will feel it. And like I'll sort of throw in one of my own more personal sort of design goals that I bring to sort of every project. It's about you as a level designer. You should be asking yourself a question: how can I give players something they have never experienced before? Maybe it does something unique in a really fantastic way. Maybe it just pushes the envelope of the combat. Maybe the combat is just like it's so tense or even frustrating. How are you creating something that players have never seen? And I, if you look at my work in level design, hopefully you can see that as a design goal that I bring to everything that I work on. But in the course, we're going to talk about design goals, and these are my design goals. That is an example of one of my design goals holistically. But really, at the end of the course, you're going to walk away with your own design goals. What do you think is important as a level designer? And hopefully, you'll walk away with an idea of what that is.
Beautiful. Thank you for the bullet point answers. Thank you, Diamond Wolf 9148 for the question. The next question that I have on the list is Arminus, and I would butcher that surname, so I won't try. But Arminus asks, what kinds of software/tools do you personally use when it comes to level design, to the level design process, and how are they beneficial throughout your process?
Lovely question. I'm noticing that a lot of these questions are really they're not very beginner questions. I'm kind of getting the vibe that the chat, there's a lot of people who have already started their level design journeys, which is really, really cool. And this course is really good for that, because it's not just beginners fundamentals. It's about sort of raising the game a little bit as well. And we're going to cover some more advanced stuff too. But yeah, great question. So the biggest innovation we saw in games development as an industry in the past sort of, I would say maybe 3 years, 4 years, it would be Miro as a tool. So this is your digital whiteboarding tool, and it has changed. It's changed the way we make games so significantly. And so we're going to be talking about Miro in the course, and how to use that as a level designer. But it's also about process as well, and we're going to be doing process work as well, and how it's again with the sculpture analogy. Different sculptures sculpt in different ways that suit their style and what they want to create. And part of this course is about helping you understand what your process is. My process has changed over the years. I do it differently based on projects and specifics, but every level designer has their own process. To flip back to the software side of the question, so again, we're engine agnostic on this course. Use whatever you're comfortable with. I would absolutely love to see someone do a Hammer level. That would be so cool. Good luck to you. It's really its own way of working. You see this in all the source-driven games like Call of Duty as well, because that's and Apex, both offshoots from Hammer. But yeah, use what you're comfortable with. And one final note on this is, it's extremely valuable as a designer to break away from specific tools, because no matter what engine be it Unity, Unreal, every project you'll be learning some new weird piece of software. A good example of this is on one of the games that I worked on, the scripting was so complex that we built a visual scripting tool, and that then boosted the quality of everything else in the game. But no one will ever have seen that visual scripting tool before, and it will work in its own unique way because it's bespoke. And some of the stuff on this course is about, and the reason it's agnostic is I'm trusting you as the developer to, as if you've joined the studio, this design team. I'm saying to you, I need you to make this Valve style level. Go.
Nice. Thank you very much, Arminas for the question. And I very much love that you referenced Miro there. I come in from a production angle and sort of collaborative tool. I love Miro to bits, and it's really interesting to hear that it's being used as a visual kind of tool in that context as well. Next question is from P. Kalman. Sorry if I pronounce these names wrong. P. Kalman asks, when playtesting a level with playtesters, how do you process the information you get from them? What are the things you pay attention to about the player's reaction and behavior? And there's an interesting kind of assumption there, which I suppose is interesting to ask as well, which is, as a level designer, what is your relationship with playtesting? Are you actually involved in that process? How far along game development do you actually get to know that information, and can you go back and tweak stuff? So I think there's an interesting conversation there about the relationship between you and playtesting as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, completely. So this is interesting. There's a few ways you could answer this, but I think the process of playtesting needs to be level design led. On big games, you will likely do usability testing, and that is useful to a degree, but it is nowhere near as powerful as calling someone, call the tech designer over to your desk, call a QA, someone in the QA team over to your desk and say, hey, have you got just 10 minutes? Just play this. And you watch, you say nothing. That's to iterate. Nothing. You don't say a word because you don't ship with your game. You don't get an Oliver William Walker alongside your copy of Sniper Elite VR. So the levels have to explain themselves because that's how it will be played one day, and it really helps. I think it's interesting that this is a Valve-driven course, and I think their playtesting stuff is just absolutely industry leading. And one of the supplementary lectures is one of these really old GDC talks from Valve, and the way they test, in their own words, is we test every week until it isn't excruciating to watch anymore, right? And that is the magic. That's how real playtesting should be done, because you will watch someone play your level and you will see what they do as the player, and when it goes wrong and you have to just sit and watch, and you can't steer it, you have to then modify your design to steer it correctly. I won't name specifics, maybe I will on the course, but there's a specific level I worked on that there is one problem with it that I will never forgive myself. I'll actually never forgive myself. It's so frustrating. But so what do I look for, though, to wrap this question as well? I'll lean on, I'll stand on the shoulders of giants with Valve. When you see a problem in the design, you jump on it like a hand grenade. You immediately want to solve these problems that bother you as the designer. And it is so obvious. It is so obvious when you watch someone play. And that is, like this example that I won't forgive myself over. It's so obvious what you need to change when you do playtesting in that format. Whereas with usability testing, in a more formal setting, I don't think it's as obvious what you need to change anymore. Great question there. I loved that one. Really, testing me. So I like that.
You're kind of like reminding me of like when you've played a game before and you watch a friend play it, and you're kind of getting frustrated that they're not making the same snap decision that you did. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Oh, it's
you
so
know,
obvious. It's so
it's so
obvious.
obvious.
You know,
It's obviously weak to fire. Come on, that sort of thing.
And if it isn't obvious to your players, something's got to change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of fascinating. Cool. Really great question there, P. Coleman. Thank you very much. And a really wonderful answer from you, Oliver William Walker. Let's carry on with Ember Wolf Z or Z. Says, I am looking to be a game designer, so I should know about all other disciplines. What are a few things I should know that will allow me to collaborate with level designers better? Or another way of looking at that question, Oliver, which is Oliver William Walker, what do you wish your game designers, but also just generally your colleagues, knew that would make your job easier?
I'm going to use a little cooking analogy for this one. There'll be many cooking analogies.
I love food analogies. Go for it.
Yeah. So if the level designer is the chef, the gameplay designer is sourcing the ingredients, and you can imagine the quality of the meal is equally impacted by the way it's cooked as the quality of the ingredients provided. So if you look at, say, if you look at the Halo example again, right? So the fusion coil, it's not static, it can roll, right? So, okay, you're giving me something I can work with there as a level designer. I could have a bunch fall down like a staircase. I could stack them above enemies and they'll fall on top of them. And then you've got the explosion, obviously, but the explosion is interesting because they will chain together, right? So again, you're giving me skills to work with here, right? You're giving me depth and variety in the ingredient, right? So I think the best example of ingredient use is probably something like Dishonored, where the sandbox is so flexible and exciting. The level designers just go absolutely wild with it. Like there is so much you can do as a level designer, and Half-Life is like this as well, like Half-Life 2 specifically, and it's why the course is structured the way it is. It's because inherently we're designing in a way that the ingredients matter, and yeah, that's a cool question. And best of luck, with your learning about the other disciplines and stuff. It's a lifelong journey, so I hope it goes great.
And Ember Wolfsy, check out the rest of the YouTube channel. I'm sure there's some meaty content in there from some of the other disciplines, just because we do try and cover quite a lot on this channel. Thank you for the excellent question. Let's go with, we've got really great questions, by the way. Thank you, everyone who's contributing. It's so lovely to see so much sort of curiosity and a real hunger to learn more here. AO or IO asks, how do you go about making a series of level mechanics in a space feel coherent and not just like arbitrarily placed objects?
I could answer this in a really reductive way, but I don't think I will. I would say, if I wanted to be cheeky, I would say I don't, because I lean more on the gameplay resolution of these things rather than the real world context, right? So, for example, there's a corner shop near me, not too far away, and it's literally like an old brick corner shop, and there's just a defibrillator, like just on the wall. It does not look like it should be there. It's really strange, and I've got a picture of it because if I was going to take this real world example and say, why is it like this in a video game, it's because there's probably going to be a reason to use it in that location, and there wasn't time to ground it properly. Generally, this grounding of gameplay ingredients is something that you work on with environment artists. For example, on Avatar, there was like, I put a rocket launcher like in a crate somewhere, and it's like, okay, like if you use the space in an interesting way and you're using the shipping containers, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to reward you for exploring the level and using the verticality and stuff with the rocket launcher. And all of a sudden the encounter takes this whole new flavor. The environment artist said to me, why is there a rocket launcher in this crate? And that's a valid question. But as the level designer, that's not what's important to me. What's important to me is, does it make for fun gameplay? And I lean more into the gameplay side. However, there is a point with this sort of thing where it's not okay anymore, right? Like if we had like a hospital level and you wake up from a coma and there's a rocket launcher next to you, okay, like that's too much, right? That's like, you can't do that even if the player needs a rocket launcher. And
that's
in
just
that
Metal
case,
Gear Solid.
Yeah, right. Well, Metal Gear does this a lot, right? And a lot of Kojima's games, I'm a big fan of Death Stranding as well. They're mechanically led, right? Their decisions they're making in the layouts and in the design. They're saying if it's a scales, they're saying, okay, we care slightly more about gameplay than if this is believable. Whereas if you take something like Disco Elysium, that scale is different, right? It's probably more like this in the, okay, well, this is a grounded world based on narrative. We fundamentally do not want, we want the realism and the believability to be higher, and we care more about the realism than we do about the gameplay conceits. And this is different on every project. So yeah, super long answer, but that's a complicated question. So I don't mind going into it.
Nice. Well, thank you, AO for the question. And again, thank you for a very comprehensive answer there. Now, let me just see, how are we doing for questions? We've got a nice amount. We've got 10 minutes. Okay.
Is it chop time?
It's going to be a little bit chop time, but also I'm going to take some liberties. So I'm going to read out two things, and then I'm going to squash them into one question for you. Claudia asks, what's the definition of your definition of level design is similar to what I call technical design. What are your thoughts on the similarity or differences on this role? But also, straight after that, Millie Jo McIlver, it occurs to me, I've never read that surname out before, asks, what does the relationship between level design and narrative design look like to you? Is there something you think each discipline should consider re each other? So I guess really, we've got two different types of designers named there. We've got technical designers, we've got narrative designers. As a level designer, what is your relationship with those two roles on a big project?
Great. So the first question, to be perfectly clear, level design focuses on layouts, quests and missions and what takes place there. Level designers will never make, or in my experience, and often will not make the explosive barrels. We won't script the logic that makes that work. We will use them in our layouts. Technical design is the group of people that creates the ingredients that level design use. And also more specifically, tech design will support the goals of the level designers. So, for example, on Avatar, we needed a bespoke ingredient, huge tower that fire pours out of the top. You turn 3 valves and then the fire turns off and the whole thing explodes. Tech design created how that works. I then set it up in the level and how it is used. So yeah, this is not a tech level design course. This is a level design course. So yeah, and it's also, these definitions are blurry and they can be different studio to studio. So remember that. But this is my experience in 6+ years professionally and working at a bunch of different places. As for narrative design versus level design, narrative design is always about the story, right? So this is a question we did on Avatar. you have to scan for these clues in this base, and we were like, okay, well, why is the base empty? Narrative design did some work in the story and in the dialogue before the mission and in the concept. Okay, so a strike team like led the people in the base away, and that's why it's empty. Narrative design is all about it's about grounding the narrative, and it's a little bit like the environment artists in that they're asking questions of like, well, okay, this is what the gameplay is. Why in the story does this make sense? So it's about that narrative understanding and grounding. They'll also write all the dialogue for quests. So I worked with a fantastic narrative designer on Avatar, and they wrote. We did some branching dialogue where there are basically big. They're called Thanators, but they're like big tigers basically, and you have to save them. Basically, you have to act quickly and save them. But there's like 3 different endings to that quest based on if you save all of them, or you save some of them, or if you save none of them. So we have this like back and forth of the gameplay, the narrative, and how these things result in a cool play experience. Complicated questions to do quickly, but hopefully that's quick enough.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I can think of a way to expand on that, but we will get to the next few questions so that they get a chance. By the way, thank you, Claudia, and thank you, Millie Jo, for your questions. JC's got a good question. JC, I'm going to ask you a question actually last because I think it's a good way to end the talk. I can see a few questions here that kind of tie together. So, Cash Rick Dames, I've said that horribly. I'm so sorry. I'm going to call you Cash for now. Cash asks, what do you consider to be the best level you have ever made? And how do you feel it holds up against the best level you have ever played? Similarly, Diamond Wolf comes back and did ask, what was your favorite game to work on in level design and why? So really, just there, what stands out to you in your creative process? What was fun? What's great? What's good?
I'll start this with, I don't really like any of my levels, to be honest. It's reductive to say that, but I have, every time I look at any of them, I unfortunately can only see the stuff we didn't get in, or stuff that I did slightly that could be improved. That's all I can see. However, I do love my lava monument level from Minecraft Dungeons. I think it's so dramatic. It uses the ingredients so well. The base that another designer gave me was so easy to empower and do cool stuff with, and ship. So that's a bit of a favorite of mine. The Avatar level where you play as the moth, with that one, there are just things that bother me so much that we just missed. Production came in and said, Oliver, you've been saying one more feature for a month now. You can't have another one. I'm like, okay, you got me. I am proud of the Avatar level, but we could have done with just more. And it was even benchmark content, right? It was what the quality of the game was. It was used to set the overall quality, and I still felt like we could have done more. And to wrap that question, like compared to the best levels I've ever played, I have, I got like 10 years before I can get to do some of my favorite levels, because they're just so the best level I have ever played is the Jeff sequence from Half-Life Alyx. And if you've played that sequence, you know how brilliant it is and how unique it is. But as a designer, when I look at the as a level designer, when I start analyzing that level, the design complexity that they've compressed into this super simple and elegant mission is mind-boggling. It's done by someone that's it's incredible. It's truly exceptional level design. The complexity they pulled off is astonishing. And the Avatar content is inherently complex content, and it's maybe a fifth of the complexity in that Half-Life Alyx level. So yeah, maybe a little nihilistic answer, but at least it's honest. So hopefully that helps. And great question. I love that. So yeah.
I think that's important, and thank you for reminding me that I have a VR headset that I should get out so I can play Half-Life Alyx. I own it and have not played it.
That game is like, if you play that game today, it's like 5 years ahead of any other VR product. It's shockingly good.
Good to know. Homework for everyone. Go play Half-Life Alyx or watch a playthrough of it at least.
Play it. Do not watch a playthrough. Please play that game.
All right. Ignore me. Play the game. Play the game. Play the game. Okay. Last question. And I was saving this question. It's from JC, but I think it's a good way to end the talk, really, because it asks, what are some level design books or resources that you would recommend to level design beginners? And were there any resources that really helped you elevate your level design craft early on?
Yes. So level design resources are actually quite few and far between. I think the best thing you can do is start making levels. You know, it's like sculpture in that you could read about sculpture for years, and you would know lots of stuff, but you wouldn't be a good sculptor yet. You have to go through that process. But to give a more useful and applicable answer, I'm a huge fan of Peter Field's design breakdowns on his YouTube channel, and Steve Lee's breakdowns on his YouTube channel, and also Max Pear's with the Level Design Lobby. All three of those level designers have done a huge amount of work in training and developing the next generation of game developers, and I think that's phenomenal, and they're all phenomenal materials. When I started as a level designer, it was actually just when the Level Design Lobby was starting, Max Pear's podcast, and the fundamentals in that podcast I was applying every single day. And I think the biggest thing that podcast gave me was the confidence to start professionally making 3D level designs, right? Feeling just a little bit more informed, learning about breaking the grid, these core concepts that some universities don't specialize in level design, and that's fine, but I needed that resource as well. So a lovely question to end on, because I have a lot of fond memories of learning that stuff and those materials. And there's always good papers. There's always lots of good papers and articles around level design, and just keep looking for them and reading them when you have chance. Thank you for your question. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes. No, thank you for those last few questions, everyone. I didn't read out all your names individually, but know that you are appreciated. I think that more or less brings us to the end of this talk and this event. Before we go into a complete sign off, I need to just do my due diligence and remind you all that the context, the thing that brings us all here today, is because Oliver is going to be leading a 3-week course, a sprint course. What? I know, crazy. With Into Games, and that starts in November, so it's going to be next month. It largely takes place on weekday evenings. So if you have a full-time job or full-time education, it is something that you should be able to do alongside it. Sessions are recorded, so if you miss something, don't worry. You join a Discord group, you get a little sort of huddle, which means that you get to sort of network quite intimately with like 4 or 5 other level designers who you could go on potentially to collaborate with or work at the same studio. It's a really good networking opportunity, and I've been the coordinator on some of these courses before, and they're phenomenally, like, the sort of the cohort that comes out of them always grow to be a really good tight-knit group of people that support each other later on. So it's a lot more than just the course content that you get out of it. And again, doing my due diligence, if you're interested, head to the site. There's a little link in the YouTube channel, or you can just go to intogames.courses, use that code Oliver55, get yourself 55% off the course. That's valid until, I believe, this weekend, so please use it before Saturday the 19th of October. I think that does it for the admin. Of course, if you just want to check out all other things to do with Into Games, like check out our link tree, linktr.ee/into-games. That's where you can learn about all the future events that we've got coming up. You can see the other sprint courses. You can see a bunch of other resources, websites, and sort of links that we just generally think that you should have. And if you're not a member of the Discord community, get in there. This is true not just for Into Games, but also true for Oliver William Walker. Your is it OMG? Is that what it was called? Oliver Makes Games.
Oliver Makes Games Limited, yes. So OMG Ltd. So
OMG,
we're on LinkedIn, and feel free to reach out if you have questions about the course on LinkedIn or anything like that. I'm more than happy to chat, and excited to hopefully see you all on the course. And we're gonna make really cool levels, and I can't wait. I'm really excited. This has been really good fun.
Nice. So thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for giving us your time. Thanks for sharing all of that. I hope I'm looking forward to seeing what you get to work on in the future. Hopefully we do this talk in the future and we can say, Oliver, what's your favorite level that you've ever worked on? And you'll be like, well, Jonas, last time I told you this, but now Jonas, I've done it. I've surpassed Half-Life Alyx. I'll put them in the bin.
Oh, that's like, give me 20 years.
all right. I'll set a date. 20 years. From now,
right.
We'll come back to it. No. I have absolute faith. And fingers crossed that the people who sort of take part in the course as well, they all come out with the confidence that they can all throw Valve in the bin and design the next Half-Life 3 that they won't do. So there you go. That's about it, I think, from us. Oliver, is there any sort of just final words of wisdom, final thoughts, something that you're like, if I don't say it now, I'll never get a chance to say this? Anything you just want to say to our audience before we go?
Making games is all about the day-to-day enjoyment. Don't get too focused on shipping, the day that it releases. Enjoy every day of it, and wherever you are in your games creation journey, enjoy each day, because that's what matters, and that's what's kept me excited and passionate and joyful about it all. So hopefully see you all on the course, and thanks so much for having me.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks everyone for watching. We're back on this channel tomorrow at 1 p.m. where I believe we're doing narrative design with Lydia Cockerham. So if you're into narrative design, which I know at least one of you in the chat is because you asked an excellent question, check that out tomorrow at 1 p.m. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a lovely Wednesday afternoon / evening, or future time if you're watching the recording. Right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.